Hey, good morning, everyone. This
Good morning.
is George from Guy. How you doing? And just want to introduce. We're here today. Have a really great topic around syncing and version control. So I think it's a really critical piece here. I'm joined with Marianne and Megan. Marianne's our training manager, and Megan works in our sales department. And so I think we have some really great content here. Before we dive in fully, I want to say thanks to everyone for joining in, liking, commenting, sending us feedback, ideas. If you have anything you want to learn or us to stream, please send it to us. We'll gladly put it together for you. We think it's a really great use of time and resources. And beyond that, we have a really, today's going to be a little shorter than usual, probably about 15 minutes, because we're going to be doing a much longer form webinar tomorrow with our partner Datto around data protection and the modern workplace. So I think that that's going to have some really full content, and it's going to be pretty good. I think I'm very excited. Marianne and I have done quite a bit getting preparing for it, and I think it's going to be good. So with that in mind, today we're going to focus on the one of the things that a lot of people get confused with is versioning versus backup. So Marianne, why don't you take us through the kind of the starting point of all this? I know you work a lot on this. It's one of your kind of key training pieces. So let's get started.
Yeah, so we're going to be focusing on Office 365 SharePoint OneDrive today, and just show you how to restore old versions, how to look at old versions. I also want to show you how to restore a deleted file if it goes to your recycling bin. The one thing that we do want to emphasize is, well, let's talk about what version history is and what it's not. So version history, it's really important that you know it's not a backup. And that is a lot of what we're going to be focusing on tomorrow is, what actually is a backup. But version history is not a backup. It really is just convenience. And it's supposed to be helping you correct errors that get made, things that get saved over that you didn't want them to get saved over. And also it's more of like an oopsie, but it is not really, it's not comprehensive backup. It only saves a certain amount, as well as it only saves a certain amount of versions, and it only saves a certain discount. So it's like it's your get out of jail free card, but you can't really rely on it.
Right.
But it's super convenient. And generally, if you have made a change in the past 30 days or probably somewhere around like your past 500 changes, you will be able to restore that. And actually, Microsoft did have, let me just quick look at my notes. When a new version is created, what it does is there's a couple of criteria of why they would create a new version, because obviously it's always saving when you're online. So a new version is created when obviously a new file is created. That immediate version is your original version. If you upload a file, but a file with the name already exists, it's going to create a new version. File properties are changed, so that's basically on the back end. When you open an Office document and it saves. So you will see if you're working on it and it's auto-saving, it's going to auto-save every few minutes, every couple seconds, stuff like that. So it is very smart, and that one isn't as easy to tell because obviously it's not going to save a version for every letter you press, but it's also not going to let you write 2 paragraphs and not save a version for a half hour. So it will save periodically. It will determine versions based on how many changes you made, how many people made changes, and stuff like that.
Got it.
And lastly, if a co-authored document is opened by a different user, it saves that version. And what's cool about the versions is it does say which user made the changes, so it's a lot easier to identify where those versions came from.
That's great. I actually didn't really realize about how the frequency changed based on the number of authors. That's a really interesting kind of thing to keep in mind when you're working with someone else on these files, because it can get really complicated. I think kind of keep track of what and much easier, but still much easier than dealing with email back and forth, which is like the bane of our existence.
Yeah,
so,
definitely.
So okay,
and I know collaboration is also a thing that some people are wary of because they don't want someone to change my file. So that is also a thing you can say. Oh, look,
right.
Susie changed the file. Let me go see the version before she did.
That's great. No, it's really smart, and that's the way you keep things going on. And how many versions can you keep? What was how long a version is kept? What's the variable on that?
So I know that there's a lot of variables. It's based on like churn. It's based on how many people use it. It's But in general, it will keep 500 versions. So
Wow,
yeah,
that's a lot.
but again, if two people are working on it and you're making changes, it might save a version for, it depends on how consistently you're working. If you open the file 5 times a day, and other people open it, so it's
So,
important
right.
to, not think, oh, 500 versions, that's a lot. If it's a frequently used file, again, you want to keep an eye on
Right.
that.
It could. It could. So, all right, cool. So all right, now that I know I have these versions, they're not backup, but
Yeah.
I have these versions. How do I use them? Like, what's the workflow around using versions?
Yeah, so restoring a version is really simple. It's important that you have your own policies in place if you're going to be overwriting someone else's data or their changes, talk to them. But I'm just going to show you how to do it. There are 3 ways. The first one I want to show you is from within the browser. So let me share my screen.
Great.
Here we go. Great. So this is in the browser. This is my SharePoint site client demo team. If I want to look at old versions of something, I've got this here. You can either just hover over, go to the options right here, click this, the ... click version history, and it's going to open up. You're going to be able to see all these files.
Cool.
So you can see I've got several versions from the same day, and then some from another day, and then some from literally this morning. If you want to restore something, you go to the date that you want to restore from, click the drop down, and you can view, restore, or delete a version. So I'm going to restore this version. I'm going to replace the current version with a selected version.
And
Oh, that's funny. It's locked. So let me just go to a different file.
that's great though.
Yeah. So that's a mistake that can happen. The reason that it's there is I literally have it open on my computer right now because I was going to show you it later. So this is a different one that I have a couple of different versions on. Let's say I want to restore this one here. Can click restore. Okay. And now it's going to show you that version 11 is today's date. Even though you didn't see me make a change, the newest version is that older version. So let's say
cool.
it's cool because then you can undo it. Like, oh, I didn't mean to restore that one. I want to restore it. Let me bring back the one that I just replaced. It's right here.
Right. That's great.
Restore.
That's great. I'm sure you can get yourself really confused in there, but I mean, but still, you can always go back to what you've done already because you keep all the changes. I think it's really great to keep an idea that locked file thing could affect the ability to restore. So, especially if you're collaborating, once again, that's to keep in mind.
If someone's in the middle of using it. And that's what that locked file was. I'm in the middle of using that file because I wanted to show you later. And you can see here, obviously, this is a demo, so most of these are modified by me, but you can see other people in our company have also modified them.
Got it. Very cool.
Cool. I'm going to just click stop sharing because I'm going to then share with you guys how to do it from if you have the application open itself.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to show you the Excel file I was just trying to show you.
Great.
Hang on. Sorry, take me 1 second. Share. Okay, so here's the Excel file that I'm looking at. I made a lot of changes on this file. Yeah.
That's a good one.
To show you real client data. So from here, you don't necessarily see version history immediately. You go up to the top, and the file is called roster. So you click here, you see where it says saved, you click the drop down right up at the top. And that's where you can change this stuff. You can see the location, and right at the bottom is version history.
Very cool.
And when you click that over on the right-hand side, it looks very similar to the other ones. Right here, you can see I've restored some of these. You can see I've renamed it. So it's a different view of the version history, but it's all the same stuff.
Right. And it seems that this one you can open the version a little easier than the other one, but it had the view function as well.
Yes, it did have the view function. So this is a previous version. I can copy content from this version or save it as a separate file or click restore. And that's how I would replace it. And you can see that these are different things that at the bottom of than the other one that I had. So
excellent. Very cool.
Yeah. Okay, and then the last one. So this, if you have your SharePoint site synced to your computer, which I highly recommend, and you should visit our KB articles to see how to do that. This is how you can restore it just from there. If you really prefer to work through the file explorer. I know a lot of people don't like the browser version. It's a little confusing. It's just a different setup. I like it, but I also like having things synced. So here's how you can do it if you have it synced, and I will share that one as well. Okay, so this is the same folder that was in that you saw in the browser, and you can see here this is my roster. This is the same one that we were working on. It's still open, so I'm actually going to go back down to a different one. I'm just going to right click, and you can see version history right here.
Got it.
So let me actually click one that's actually here. Look at my version history. And can you guys see that? There's only 2 versions on there. No? Let me share my whole screen because I think I only shared the application window. Share screen, entire screen. Okay, sorry for the, there we go.
No.
Okay, so this one, I'm going to view the version history on this, and you can see, cool. Yeah, so there's a lot of changes to this one. I changed it 9 minutes ago because I restored it. I can download one of the files, so basically it's more of it like a save as. It'll go to my downloads folder. I can delete or restore just like before.
That's great.
Yep.
Super useful.
And that'll probably take a second. If the file's open, close it to avoid conflicts, which is great. They give you that sort of warning.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So what's the last version kind of management tool or version kind of like know-how thing?
Oh, well, one thing I did want to show was that sometimes people will delete the file, and I wanted to show you how to restore that as well.
Gotcha.
And again, not backup. So, one of the things that you want to get actual backup for is if people delete files and you need to recover them, because deleting files don't stay as long as version history. It's not 500 things.
Right.
Sorry, I'm still sharing my screen. Here we go. So I deleted a file before we started this. I also deleted a folder before we started this. In your browser, so I do it from the browser, you can go to Recycle Bin over on the left-hand side. It's at the bottom of all this stuff from your SharePoint site. And it's going to show you stuff that was recently deleted. And you can see mine goes as far back as July. I haven't deleted a lot of stuff, but I definitely deleted stuff in June. So it's important to, again, this is not backup, but you can restore from here. So I don't know what this image is, but I'm going to restore this tech news folder, click restore. I just checked it, click restore, it's working on it, and it's done. I'm going back to my documents because that's where it was before, and here it is.
Cool. And once again, that there is a certain time limit, obviously, for a recycle bin, or if it's deleted right away, kind of thing, kind of like the classic Windows. Like, do you want to empty the recycle bin right now?
Yes, that's true too.
It's gone forever.
It's gone forever.
Got it. Okay, cool. This is really useful. I think just kind of queues us up ready for tomorrow. Well, with the backup side of it, but there's one other thing that I was kind of asking about, and this is like a personal frustration that we were talking about earlier today. Was how do you tell if an Office document's syncing properly? I know it sounds like, and this could impact your ability to do backups and restores as well, or why you'd want one.
Yes, definitely. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize until they have the need for that, the backup restoration is, are your documents in the right place that they're being backed up? And it can also be confusing because when you have it synced, it just looks like every other file, except for a few things. So I'll show you the difference on my computer right now.
Great.
Let me just. Okay. Again, this is the same folder that you saw before. Mm-hmm. This is something that is synced. I've synced this entire folder. And one of the main ways that you can tell is that it's got these status symbols on them. They made different things, and we do have, if you go to our How to Sync SharePoint article on the knowledge base, you can see what those different symbols mean, and we define them and everything. But just to, as long as it's not a red X mark, it's something that is, synced to the cloud and being saved properly. If you do get that red X mark, it's really important to figure out what's wrong. Now, it might be something as simple as you changed your password and didn't change your password on your computer, so it's having trouble uploading. You have to log in again. But rather than really try and dig deep down and figure out what it is, open a ticket with your IT department.
Yeah.
Figure it out that way. If you're a Valiant client, we're glad to help.
Yep.
I'll also show you compared what this looks like in something that isn't synced. So I'll go to my documents that's on my desktop. This isn't synced. This isn't backed up. This isn't important stuff. Don't worry. But this stuff, you can tell it's not backed up. It doesn't have any of those syncing symbols.
Status symbols, right?
Status symbols. Yep. So, and then I like to view mine in details, but if you use icons, it's going to be below right next to the name. If you view by list, it's going to be over here.
Right.
And, any of these tiles content, it's going to have a symbol next to it.
Right.
So that's an easy way to tell.
If it's so important that they put it on every single view, if you think of it that way, to know that it's there or not. And just my own frustration. Sometimes you'll be working on something, then you'll look back and didn't sync properly. It has a red X over the cloud. You're like, what the heck's going on with this thing? Sometimes the reboot. Unfortunately, I hate being the IT guy. Like, did you reboot it?
Did you turn it off and on?
Turn it on and off. But it sort of works a lot of times. I say a lot of times authentication, but sometimes it can be something else deeper with it in terms of versioning issues or conflicts that need to be resolved. So
this happens a lot if you are offline. Like if you're not connected to the internet, you're working on something offline, and then when you connect to the internet, it immediately should sync back up. Right. But what if someone else was working on it? So that's often a cause for a syncing issue. And they'll usually just say, hey, someone else was working on this. What do you want to do? Save as, see that version, all that stuff.
Yep. Awesome. Well, that's a lot of information for our last 15 minutes.
It's really important to know, that your stuff is being synced, it's being backed up, and also how to restore stuff.
Right.
Because we talked about shared responsibility in our last live stream. We're going to talk about it more tomorrow on the webinar, but this is part of your responsibility, or part of your staff's responsibility is they need to not delete things that they want to keep, or if they're changing versions, they can easily restore it.
Right.
Especially if it happens right away. So,
and I think it matters more as we work more and more in this modern workplace that's spread across geographic. We're not saving everything in one single server, right? We're saving. Each workstation may have a syncing up to a cloud, so we want to make sure it's protected at every layer as part of our responsibility and just a best practice. So, with that in mind, we're going to wrap up today. And I think we have some really cool stuff for tomorrow. I'm really excited because we have this really deep dive with the Datto team. I think we're going to get a lot of information out of them in terms of just some new stuff about SaaS protection and protecting your applications, particularly 365 and Google. And we're looking forward to it. Beyond that, please check us out on social media. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. We have a great YouTube page that has all our videos on them. They have a lot of information on. Marianne does a spectacular job of explaining and breaking down these kind of complex topics. I watch them myself, and I work on this all day, every day. And sometimes it's like, man, I don't know how that works. So it's really great. Check it out. And once again, just if you have any questions, thoughts, or anything you'd like us to do live stream on, please fire it off to us. We'd love to see it. Thanks a lot and have a great day. Thanks, Marianne. Thanks, Megan. Appreciate it. All right. See you tomorrow. Bye now.